Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Let's go.
Welcome to the Life of Phys Podcast. I'm your host, Tyson Martin. On this episode, I have Velvet Alfredo. Velvet Alfredo captures striking street portraits of incredible, fashionable individuals he meets on his photography adventures. Each portrait tells a unique story, highlighting the beauty and diversity of people in spontaneous, candid moments. He shows by engaging with the subject with a simple compliment on their style can create an amazing moment captured. Now let's get to the show. The Life of Phys Podcast is lit by Harlow. Harlow is on a mission to empower creators to elevate their creativity with lighting kits made to last and built to inspire. These lights are bold, beautiful, and powerful because Harlow believes that your lights deserve to be seen. To learn more, follow them on Instagram at Harlow Creators or online at www.harlow.com, and don't forget to use our discount code Tyson10 to save 10% on your order.
Despite what my YouTube account would suggest. Yeah, no, that sounds great, man.
Yeah, man. Like, so when this just, it's crazy to me because this started for me just over a year ago, this whole podcast platform. I had an idea 2 years ago to do it. I told myself I wasn't good enough. It'll never work. And here I am. I've got like 100 episodes in the can.
Dude, congrats. That's such a big deal. I mean, the consistency part is gotta be 85% of the game, right? That like everybody's got this like dream in their head of like something they want to accomplish, the great American novel, whatever it is. And it's so easy to not do it because it means you gotta basically wake up every day and do your thing. And your thing is not always great. Like sometimes like, wow, today was total waste. If I'd stayed in bed, I probably would have been better off. And for you to pump out 100 episodes, holy hell.
So I did 52 episodes in the first year.
I mean, that's the consistency, right? Like what a week.
I'm not doing that this year because I do have some personal projects that I put off to achieve that goal. But that was the goal when I first started out. I was like, I told my wife, I'm going to do 52 episodes this year. So I'm doing one a week for a year. And because I had to prove to myself that not only could I improve, but I could stay consistent. We had a 10-week hiatus, actually longer, but I had 10 weeks because I got super sick. I was in the hospital for 4 weeks. And then I took a month off to shoot a project, so to do it in actually it was probably a 9-month window that I did 52 episodes. And just trying to stay consistent and learn. And I try to take everything in from everybody who's been on. There's always that little tidbit of wisdom. Mm-hmm. And it means so much because, there's times, as you probably felt too, like in the beginning, like, why am I wasting my time? Why am I doing this? Always that negative, that negative talk.
It's funny you mentioned that because like the beginnings to me are the easier part because it's still dream state, right? So like you're posting, you're not going to get a lot of audience. You're just kind of like running.
Yeah.
And it's when you get a little bit of traction, that's where it's like, oh, okay, so now am I stacking up against the big boys properly? And you kind of can't see the light at the end of the tunnel because it's like, you're getting a little bit, be like, man, what is it going to take for me to level up? And that's where I routinely would find myself frustrated. I don't want to say depressed, but like really challenged of, I don't know if I've got in me. Like I'm thinking about that with YouTube right now. I'm trying to build up YouTube as a second leg in the stool of my exhibition platforms, right? Instagram has gone really, really well. But YouTube is the thing. And I look at what the guys do on YouTube and I think to myself, holy hell, how can I don't know if I got it in me to do what it takes to get 265,000 followers or something. And on the other hand, I know technically I've got the skills to do it and it's possible. It's just a matter of, putting the effort in and really staying focused. But it's right after the first little bit of success that you start feeling like, oh my God, there's a lot more to go here. But beginnings, I think that's why a lot of people will start a project and not finish because starting is easier. Starting feels good. I'm doing it. There's no expectations. No one's seeing it. Um, so I'm really good with starting, and then I have to like fight my way through. Like everybody shows up to the gym on January 1st, right? It's how you do it in February, Valentine's Day. You still putting time in? Like that's the thing.
That's kind of where I feel right now about the show. I started this with four other friend groups that were doing like co-hosted podcasts together, and I'm the only one still going.
Oh wow,
And
wow.
it's, I'm fortunate enough that Harlow came on board to sponsor the show for the second year in a row, um, which that was a complete trip for me because I had two episodes out when they reached out. So I've been with them for 2 years now, which is amazing. But yeah,
That is incredible.
I'm trying to figure out that next step. Everybody's like, "Oh, you got to do YouTube. You got to do these videos. You got to do this. You got to do that." And it's a scary journey, man. It's a
Yeah,
scary jump. Trying to figure out that next step, and that's where, like, when I talk to people like yourself and everybody else that's been on the show, I get amped by the end of the conversation, and I keep a book right below the screen that I'm looking at now. So I just pick up the book after the show and I write down all the points I remember. And I'm like, but it gives me like, okay, why am I feeling this way? Right. So, it's important. If these messages and these conversations not only are important to me as a artist, but they're important to the people who are willing to give my show time to listen to. Right. So they learn so much from these shows. I'll get messages like, oh, that episode was so and so. It changed my life. And you're like, oh, that's a different feeling. And that's when we switched from talking about gear and we started talking
yeah.
about the story and the creative and how important art actually is, because I take art as FICE stands for photography heals your soul.
Very cool. Very cool.
I found photography right as COVID started, right after I dealt with the passing of my ex-wife and the passing of my mom. And I was struggling. I was looking for that outlet because it used to be skateboarding, right? So I was trying to find that outlet. And then I found a camera. And you take that one picture and you're like, whoa, okay, this feels good. And then I had 3 months off work that I just focused on shooting. And it's been a wild ride ever since.
Yeah. Well, I think that journey for everybody is a little bit different, right? But we all go through it in different ways. Like artists sometimes we struggle with, trying to chase that success, or sometimes we try to struggle with just keeping ourselves interested, right? That like, I've been doing a thing. You've put, first year 52 episodes, and maybe that itch is scratched. And how do you find other itches? How do you keep doing something that is challenging yourself? That's something that I think about. That, how long can I do this street portrait project where I'm finding interesting people on the street?
Forever, because
And
it's
what am I
fucking
doing?
amazing.
What's that?
I said forever because it's amazing.
Oh man, thank you so much. Thank you. I think, it's as much for yourself as it is for the audience. And or maybe more so, I honestly I do think about the audience 99% of the time, because and I'm sure we'll talk about this, but I think that what social media has unlocked is this new exhibition platform, which, being an older guy, I'm 44 years old. I went to film school. The only way for my work to get into the public eye was film festivals. And you're asking permission and you're paying fees and you're getting rejections. And there's a lot of, it just feels like you're begging. And social media has unlocked the idea of like, no, exhibition's free now. And I don't think that artists think about exhibition as often as some of our contemporaries. Like Tarantino is obsessed with 35 millimeter exhibition, right? Hates digital projection. That's like a cornerstone of his work. And it's like, no, I feel the same way about social media. The fact that we all have these little movie screens in our pockets and pull them out, I need to get really good at that exhibition platform. And so I think about, the audience, and I think about how my work needs to change over time as that exhibition kind of style is adjusted. That like as people, memes, trends, whatever you want to call it, you know, there is a life cycle of art. and capturing that in this social media exhibition. I mean, social media gets a really bad rap sometimes for the right reasons, but it is also the most incredible exhibition platform for artists that has ever been invented, right? And no one thinks about it as art. The way that people don't think about reality television as fundamentally documentary. That documentary was reinvented by reality television. Now it's a little bit different, right? I wouldn't say Ken Burns is the same as somebody as the Kardashians, but it is documentary television. And the fact that it's just been packaged for pop culture, it's like, whoa, that art though, that art form exists. It's not just some asshole film festival product. It is a skill that is used every single day. And I think about that with social, that yeah, you can mistreat it or you could think about it as an exhibition platform and tune your art to that. And I think that's wildly fascinating to me. And it's what I think about every single day.
Well, thank you. Because that was the best explanation on the way to use social media that I've heard in 100 recordings.
Well, yeah. Yeah. That's
struggle.
good.
I struggle with it because I'm a very introverted person, so I don't really throw myself out there very much. And this has caused me to really throw myself out there. So it's like I'm trying to make that transition and I still battle. Like, I don't like social media. I don't want to put a lot of effort into it. But in order for my show to grow, I know I need to do it, and I need to do it in a way that attracts an audience. So I've been learning. I've been trying to learn how to film myself. I've upgraded my camera here in my little corner while my studio is being built. So I use my Osmo Pocket 3 as my webcam now.
It looks great. It looks
so
fantastic.
It gives me a good quality. And then what I do is I like to, my daughter and her boyfriend are both about to graduate with their bachelor's of motion picture arts. So I send them the video clips and they'll do shorts for me because that's what they work with. They're always doing stuff for themselves. So I'm like, okay, cool. I have a team. you know what I mean?
Yes, no, that's great.
But I want to learn to do it in-house. I want to learn to do it all myself. And I mean, my only experience with filming is using old VHS camcorders to film skateboarding back in the early 90s.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Right. And then you have two VCRs and you're like, play, record, stop, cut. You know? So I just got to take those old memories and bring them back into, DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think my tip to anybody would be that there seems to be no correlation between image quality and success, that you could fundamentally make your videos on a potato, but they just need to be engaging. And often, when I've worked, I used to work in-house at a big brand, the company that owns Milwaukee and Ryobi and Hoover vacuums and whatnot. And I helped build their social media platforms. And one of the things we talk about all the time is you can't be self-serving in social media. If you want to sell more vacuums or sell more slices of pizza, that's not going to be compelling to the audience. You need to talk to the audience about what they want. What do they want? And give them incredible videos based on that. And you hope that over time, that kind of like trickles down into, hey, they're interested in me, right? It's not just about the fact that I've given them entertainment, but really think about what is good for the audience, not what is good for me. Because I have my goals and you have your goals. You want to grow your show. You want more people to hear about it. But you need to think about what they want. They don't give a fuck about that. They don't care about our show or our thing. They just give them what they want. And those limitations, it can feel like pandering if you're cynical, but artists have always had to deal with this. My canvas is a certain size. My movie can only be 2.5 hours because I need to get a certain amount of showings in there, whatever it is. And it's like, well, I'm just playing to the limitations. I'm playing to what the audience wants. And that's always been the case. Right? Like Nirvana gave the audience what they wanted, right? But they were not sellouts. And I think that that's the key, is that like pleasing an audience is not selling out. It is just successfully delivering your art.
Do you give talks? Because man, you've just inspired me to just keep pushing certain boundaries I was worried about. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have clients that I coach on social media. It's something that just fell into my lap as I was leaving my corporate job, and a few people who knew about my experience there had asked for some help. And I just love talking about this. Like if you ask me to talk about coffee, I am not going to be as passionate. But
Well,
I think
let's
about this
save
every
some.
single day.
Let's flip it into like we'll get you to introduce yourself, and then we can just start sharing this because like I'm inspired to just go, even though it's pouring rain, I'm inspired to go film stuff today. Like,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
should. You totally should. Yeah,
so
I could do the intro. I'm Velvet Alfredo. I am a street portrait photographer. I go out into the world and I find interesting and incredible people. I hype them up and I snap their picture. And I make these short form videos that I post to Instagram Reels and more recently to YouTube Shorts as well. And they are just about the interaction that I have on the street, coupled with a little bit of the photos. And without sounding pretentious, I kind of see myself as the anti Bruce Gilden, right? That I'm not the guy who is like surprising somebody with a flash photo in their face and kind of being a little bit antagonistic. It's the reverse, that I want people to feel good about themselves. And like, how many times have you left the house feeling incredible and you just kind of hope that someone notices? And the noticing is what I want to give people. And I think that that optimism and that fun is at least what I need right now, that I don't need any more, you know, antagonistic Debbie Downer stuff in the world. And if I can give people a couple smiles and make people feel great, that is the juice to me. And a lot of people think of me as a photographer, and I think that makes sense. But I really think of myself as a video maker. That if I ever had a gallery show, which is not in the cards for me, it's not really a big interest of mine. But if I did, I would have flat panel TVs in there. I wouldn't have printed photos, framed photos. I really think of myself as a video maker first. And looking at my work, I don't think that anybody gives a shit about my photos. I think they're amped about the interaction. And that when I really bring it to the person I'm photographing and I make, you can tell in some of these videos when I'm like really excited and I found somebody special. And when they give it back to me, then we're off the rails, right? That it's everything's incredible and I've got some gold. And that's what I do. And my background is I went to film school. I wanted to make indie films like everybody did in the 90s, the Tarantinos, the Soderberghs. And I swore to myself I wouldn't sell out. And I won a music video contest in college. I won $20,000, which I split with a friend. We moved to LA. We felt like we were rich. And I immediately joined like the commercial advertising world and sold out. And the money, I was more money than I ever even thought I would ever make. Um, and it was a blast. And I spent a decade in Los Angeles working with a lot of different brands, making video commercials, got into kind of the early days of social media. I was kind of first in the digital signage space. I made something called 7-Eleven TV, where in every 7-Eleven across the country in the United States, we put two flat panels in and we gave this like very short form content to like advertise in the store, like, hey, get a donut with your coffee kind of thing. And it was right at the time when Vine was coming out. And it was like, yo, can we make 7-second commercials really powerful? And it was a brand new idea. We were early, it turns out, because the advertising world didn't know how to budget for it. They're like, well, the digital team doesn't have the money to spend for a 7-second commercial. You should go talk to the commercial like TV guys. And then they would say, we don't know what the fuck this is. And it's like, okay, cool. So that crashed and burned. But I learned a lot in like making short form content. And then I met my wife, we had 2 kids, and we moved to Charlotte where she grew up. And I had freelance clients and I somehow got connected to TTI, which is the company that owns Ryobi, Milwaukee, Hoover Vacuums, Dirt Devil. And I went in-house just to help them with videos while I had my freelance clients. And I realized like they were so behind the times. And maybe as you imagine a brand like Hoover would be, a 100-year-old vacuum brand, but they had no social media presence at all. And I was like, man, I could really knock this out of the park based on like what I've done before. I had built a YouTube channel in Los Angeles that got really big. I was telling these fake ghost stories. That it feels like a whole other life. But um, and so I over the years I was like, hey, let me help you with social media. Let me help you with social media. And finally, enough regime change in corporate life there, and they said yes. And I built a social media team. I ran the team, and we went from zero to the largest floor care brand on TikTok and Instagram. So we went from like no followers to like, I think it's like 375,000 followers on TikTok. Instagram is massive too, but we got 3x more views than all of the competition combined. So Bissell, Dyson, Shark, all the vacuum brands you're familiar with, we get 3x more views than all of those brands combined based on the tactics we deployed. And that's where it's like, holy shit, this is it. This is the exhibition platform I've always been looking for. And isn't it a fucking drag that I'm making vacuum videos, right? Like, why don't I deploy this for myself? And so back in March 2024, my account just became a year old. Back in March, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start. I did street photography in California as a goof, as a lark, and no one gave a fuck. And I just did it for myself. But I was like, you know what? I bet I can do that on the street. But I need to figure out how to make a reel out of it because I can't just post photos because I know how this system works and blah, blah, blah. So I struggle with like, I wearing cameras on my head? What am I doing? And I look like a fucking tourist. I got like a hat on. I got a GoPro on the brim. And I just walked around and like I had mentioned before, we in the beginning, it was like just for me. And then it started to work. And I was like, man, I need to really just focus on this. I need to do this thing. And I spent about 9 months on it, and it was growing faster than I could have ever imagined. It was never crossed my mind that my account would get as big as it got. And it feels really good when your art connects because I have made artistic projects that no one has seen. And it's like, yo, I'm doing it for myself. Do it for yourself. And it's like, yeah, sure, you do it for yourself, but it surely hurts when no one else gives a shit, when it's just you. And so this was working, and I, got to a point where I was having conversations with friends who were still in Los Angeles, and it was like, yo, it was funny when your account had 40,000 followers, but now it's kind of irresponsible that it's closing in on 200,000 and you're not doing anything with it. You're not monetizing in any way. You're not taking it seriously. It is kind of a goof you do on nights and weekends. And that's almost irresponsible at this point. And I was like, holy shit, that hits. That feels right. And so I quit. I just quit my job and was like, I need to focus on this. I have no idea how to make money out of this yet, but I need to, jump into the pool. I will figure out how to swim. But what I know I can't do is burn any more time in a corporate job. Despite how they were very kind to me, and the money was always fantastic, but it was like, this is just not how I see my future. And I dove into doing this full time. And now, I'm consulting with other, personal brands, entrepreneurs, who are in a similar situation where they understand the power of social media, but they don't know what to do with it. And it's like, yeah, I've got a playbook that really anybody can run. And it is exactly like a workout coach. I can show you how to do it, but I can't do it for you. The whole point is you have to do it. And if you do it, you will find your way, right? If you show up to the gym every single day and you lift weights and you do crunches and you eat right, you're going to get in better shape. I don't know if you're going to get yoked, but you're going to get in better shape. And getting in better shape on social media, there's a very obvious plan that anybody can deploy. And if you deploy it, it will work. And then it will be up to you what you do with it. That what brands always want is they want to convert your video into sales. They want to sell more slices of pizza. They want to sell more vacuums. And it's like, yo, that's cool, I guess. But really, if I said you have 1 million followers, what are you going to do with it today? Your answer is going to be different than my answer. You might want a book deal. You might want a TV show. You might want speaking engagements. You might want to just get brands to sponsor, whatever the thing is, right? But like your answer is different than my answer. What I'm offering people is you can get 1 million followers. You can do this. And then after that, you figure out what I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to sell more slices of pizza. You probably will, but you might want something else. And so the opportunity for all of us is that you can be on the same playing field as Walmart or Nike in a pop culture sense. That you could sit down and be like, yo, Walmart, I've got more followers than you, right? That conversation is distinctly different than you asking if you can work for them. right? And I think that's the power that all of us who dare to jump into the social media game can get. We That's what we can accomplish. We can be on the same playing field as things that seem well out of our reach. But the reality is it isn't. The reality is that we are equally as powerful from a pop cultural perspective. And I think that has been a sea change that is often lost in the talk about social media's problems, which I absolutely agree with, that the algorithms that run many of these platforms seem to become an echo chamber that empower um, kind of like a devious thought, let's call it, like that people get stuck in their bubbles and they don't hear competing perspectives that they might agree with if they had heard in different contexts. And I think those are problems. I don't know how to solve that, but what I do know is that we are living in a time when we've got these devices in our pockets that will provide ideas. And I would like to provide optimistic, incredible ideas to people. And if other people don't want to do that, if other people want to get cynical and dark and burn the world down, that's on them. But for those of us who give a shit, we can make incredible content that makes people feel good, that demonstrates kind of the optimistic nature of what humans could be, and that it's just magical to me. I'm obsessed.
Well, I mean, like I was saying in the beginning when we were having our pre-podcast chat, I mean, I work full time. I have my podcast business. I have photography. I have children. So for me, shorts was always a quick, like, get that dopamine from just running through and laughing and watching stuff. And that's where I found you. I found you actually on, it was probably Instagram Reels. And I just love the way I love the way you approach people. You hype them up as soon as you get close to them. And you can see people's demeanor change, just by saying, oh man, I love that fit. And they turn to you and you see the smile and you see the eyes go from, oh, what the fuck does this guy want, to being like, all right, dude. Yeah, man. Like, let's do it. And it's so cool to watch. And for someone like myself, like I was telling you, I'm a big guy. So walking up to somebody, hey, can I take your photo? They even trying to have a conversation. They always like look at me really, really strange. Most of the time turn around and go the other way. So I like watching them because, okay, well, next time I'm out, I'm going to talk to them and I'm going to just try to employ some of these tactics that I've heard in your videos and other street people's videos. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to see, there's a science to this game. And it's kind of neat to see. And I love that you share that part of it. It's not just like, hey, can I take your photo? Click, photo. You're like, you show that beginning. You show how you initiated that contact.
Dude, exactly. And in fact, there are so many photos, great photos, like some of my favorite photos, that the video doesn't have that interaction. And it's like, you know what? I guess it's just for me then, because the interaction to me is really the work. It's not really, hey, I got a banger photo, but this was kind of a boring interaction. Or more times than not, it's that my approach was poor. And I think that's the key. To be fair, I am a very outgoing person. I was the guy at a bar that my buddies would say, go talk to her, and be like, okay, yeah. So I am totally prepared to hear a no, which happens occasionally, but much more rare than you think on the street. When you go up and that enthusiasm is real, for sure, I tune it a little bit, knowing that like I know it's going to make for a fun interaction, but my enthusiasm is like, oh my God, that person's incredible. And if I can get out of my own head, my enthusiasm is as big as I'm really feeling it. And I think those are my standout pieces. But that approach is so important to make people feel like this is not a risky endeavor. I do not want money. I am not trying to pick you up. I'm so excited with what you're wearing and how cool you seem to be that like, let me snap you up. And culturally, I've been helped by the fact that people have seen not just my videos, but other people in this universe of street interactions. And so it is not alien to a certain age group. There are people like my age where they react entirely differently. They are like, I don't want my photo. I'm not into social media, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, I can clock you a mile away that I know exactly how you're going to react. And I think one of my skills in the work that I show on Instagram is that I can try to figure out, I know who a good mark is. Like I know that person's not going to be great. I know that a group of girls is generally not a good interaction just because there's a weird dynamic that there's four of them and they don't know which one of them is going to think it's cool and which one isn't. And so it becomes a very awkward encounter. Or often with a certain type of guy with a certain type of girlfriend, and he doesn't want his girlfriend getting attention. And I can see that coming based on body language and a bunch of things. And it's like, I generally don't approach those people. But the people that I do lock in, I'm like, oh, they seem awesome. And most of the times I'm right. About like 1% of the time I get no. And only one time has somebody ever gotten mad at me. And it's fun, but I would say you really you gotta if you accept the fact that people are gonna say no and you're just gonna forget about it in 3 minutes, you're golden. If you go up and you want to talk to people and you want to take their photo, people love that. People love hearing they look great. People love to hear that they're photograph worthy. That's just, it's an incredible moment. I mean, if somebody came up to me like, hey, I think you look incredible. Can I snap your photo? It's like, fuck, man. Yeah, go for it, I guess. I would be shocked, but I would be like, yeah, rock and roll. And when people are wearing the fits that I capture, they're pretty extravagant often. And so it's no shock that they know what they're doing, right? If I'm wearing a hoodie and jeans, I'm like, I don't think I look that great. But those are not the people that I approach, right? It's like, you put some time to this. Like that makeup must have taken 90 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like, so every once in a while I'll come across somebody who was dressed to the nines, like some crazy goth situation. I'm like, oh my God, they look incredible. And then they like, I don't want attention. And it's like, oh wow, what an interesting dynamic. That like, you're wearing something that is shouting, look at me, but then it's like when you get that, look at me. So every once in a while that happens, and I think I'm fascinated by that. But it's definitely an interesting experience on the street. I just love it because I love the interaction. I'm very outgoing, and it's just a blast to me.
Well, you did that one. I think it's your most recent one. It's a couple, and they were walking down the street, and the guy turns, and he's got the full gold grills.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like just getting, because you didn't, like when I was watching the video, I didn't notice them at first.
Either did I.
You said it, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, damn. Like he nailed it because you brought that extra out. I do have a question for you. So there's a lot of people that do what you're doing, but not a lot of them feel as authentic as yours. It feels kind of like they had that whole shoot set up. You start to see it. Like, do you get asked that a lot? Like, oh, how many of these people do you like set up the shot?
In the comments, I will get the occasion because of the scale, social media comments can get crazy.
Yeah.
And so where a vast majority of them are really positive, a certain percentage are haters or people who are in there just to cause trouble. And people will ask or say, I've seen this girl before on TV or something. And it's like, no, you haven't. And none of this was set up. Anytime there, I think there's once or twice where I've shot models that I was already doing a portrait shoot for, and it's very obvious. The interaction is entirely different. And honestly, the videos don't perform well. But every, other than 2 videos, every single one is entirely authentic. I saw them on the street. I have no idea who they are. And I just snap them up. And I think I agree with you. I do think that there's a lot of either inauthentic or very, dare I say, cringeworthy video interactions. And it's because I do think they're faking the enthusiasm or that there is no enthusiasm. It's like, I don't believe that you actually enjoy this. And I think that's the difference in what, like, I would do this for free. I would do this. I am doing it for free. I would do this for no views. I would do this just for myself. I think it's a blast, and meeting people, that's how I get. And I think a lot of people see videos like mine and they want to imitate the success, but they don't actually feel it. And it's like, yeah, okay, so you should find your own thing. You should find your own style. But that's I think anybody who's making an artistic piece, you start at a place of imitation and then you start to deviate. And I think that's entirely natural and appropriate and acceptable. So if somebody saw my videos and was like, I'm gonna go do that, rock and roll, go do it. Right? Like you can trace back anybody's lineage, a couple hops, and you're like, oh, I see where that started. That Scorsese shot is actually from the 40s. Holy shit. But he's changed it enough where it's his. And I think that that's something that anybody goes through. And we might be seeing the awkward moments, like the awkward growing, the people that we've seen that I think might be cringeworthy. Who knows? In 6 months, they could have found their voice. And it's like, oh shit, this is real work now. This is incredible.
That was the perfect answer. I loved it. Well, because I know a lot of people that listen to the show are going to be like, oh yeah, I know who that is. It's got to be set up. And like you just explained it. I use your videos because I love this. And I feel like I have such an opportunity where I live to do something similar. And I watch them and I'm like, okay, like I said before, I'm going to try it this way the next time. I'm going to add a little bit more spice into it, a little bit more enthusiasm, a little bit more fun. Not only does it force me to step out of my own comfort zone, but who knows? I may be able to capture something that's amazing. Right. So I really enjoyed that because I know I'll get an email. Oh yeah, he sets up every shot. I know somebody who knows him.
Yeah. I think, God, that it kind of feels good to think that like I would be such a great producer to be able to engineer this shit. But I'm telling you, I am not a good actor and I am not a good producer. These are two things that I couldn't fake this if I tried. It's all legit. For sure, I see some of the same people because I work in the same like little strip of Charlotte, North Carolina. So, there's one girl in particular that I filmed her one time at a vintage market. And she happened to follow my account and she was very shocked that I wanted to take her photo, but she was incredible looking and super, down to earth. And then I saw her again like 2 months later, and the video was actually about the first interaction. And so, yeah, it's possible that some of these people were like, I've seen her before. It's like, yeah, you might have seen her in my video, man. She's been in a couple videos, but yeah, no, it's entirely authentic, and it just demonstrates like how shook people are by the fact that like, yeah, there are incredible people out there, and we're so stuck on being cynical and shitty to each other that this seems fake. That seeing like cool people on the street and talking to them somehow seems fake. Like that's how fucking far we've fallen.
When I first started with this project, I used to always use the hashtag community over competition because I'm more for community. Like healthy competition, fantastic, but we are so far past healthy competition in the world where people's version of competition is beating someone down till they quit. That's I'm better than you because I made you quit. So like seeing that interaction and seeing the fun and, being part of your community, right? You're out there where you live and you're doing this, and then having the unique Instagram or social media handle. I'm sure people, when you tell them it, they start to laugh, but they remember it.
Yes, dude, that's exactly right. I came up with that because, going all the way back to the .com days of like, how do you get a good URL? And, you start combining words together. And Velvet Alfredo just kind of felt right of like, it's weird, but it's also, it sounds kind of stupid, but it's like delicious. And it's like, okay, there's something about it that is like, that's perfect. I have this thing, God, my coworkers hated it. But anytime I saw an incredible piece of work, whether it was like a box art or like a banner ad, I would say, oh, that's delicious. And they hated. They're like, you need to stop saying that, dude. I really hate when you say delicious.
That's why your screen says it's yummy here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's my avatar. That was my old one. So yeah, I think the name helps. One of the things that I talk about privately to people is, I'll get these comments that people say, hey, you should have business cards, hand out business cards so that they can find you. And it's like, I don't say Velvet Alfredo in every video for the people that I'm interacting with.
Mhm.
I'm saying it for you. I'm saying it so that you remember. I'm trying to brand my videos so that you understand, this is my work. It's important, I think, for an artist to sign their thing. And like a film director, it says in the beginning and the end, directed by David Fincher. And it's like rock and roll. And why can't social media people do that in a way that seems legitimate, right? Like I'm not just going to put like an end card on there. And that was my way of doing it. Like I want to make sure that people know, like, no, this is one of mine. And it's not about the person I'm interacting with. They easily find my account, usually in real time in front of me. What I'm trying to do is make sure the audience knows this is one of my videos.
I love when you just kind of smoothly put it in there, but the name, like having that unique name, that unique marker is such a great marketing tool.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And you don't have to spell it out for them. Like when I chose Life of Phys, there's a huge background to the Phys name. It was actually a fixed gear bicycle brand that my closest friend in the world and I were trying to start when we had no money. And it meant pedal harder, you sissy. And it was funny and we laughed about
it. That's so good.
And then, he moved to a different province. I was here. And then when I was coming up with this, I called him and I said, that name means the world to us. We came up with it together. It was a part of us, still is a part of us because we laugh about it all the time. And I said, I want to use it, but I'm not sure how to make it work. And the reason I chose the Life of Phys was that I wanted to incorporate everything that was important in my life and put it out in the public. Whether it's my photography, the people that, I only reach out to people that I find inspiring, or their work clicks with me. I'm not just reaching out for people with, follower counts and trying to get them on. There has to be something that I've noticed over a time frame before I'll send an email or before I'll reach out on social media. So when I said that to him, he's like, oh, that's so good. And I was like, but I need to change what Phys stands for. And that's when I was going through my stuff and clicking that shutter made me feel good. Like I clicked it and I was like, ooh, that's cool. And then you click it again and you get that same feeling. Now, 6 years down the road, I still click the shutter and I still get that same feeling. So I sat there and I started reading out different things. And that's how I came up with the acronym Photography Heals Your Soul. Because one, it meant something to me because that's what my camera was doing. But I felt like others could relate to that. Right?
Yeah.
We have, as a creative or as an artist, we always have this connection. And I always try to get an answer. And I'm going to ask you the question now. Do you find a connection between your art and your creativity and your mental health?
I do. I mean, for as long as I can remember, the feeling that I'm chasing is to make something incredible, usually at my desk, usually in front of a computer, and then go to bed and wake up in the morning knowing I did it last night. I made the thing. It's done. That feeling is what I chase. And that's not every morning. There's a lot of mornings I wake up and I'm like, I either need to make something today or I haven't made something in a while or whatever. But that feeling of like finishing a script or finishing a video that you then rewatch like 50 times at midnight, right as you finish, you're like, man, I nailed it. I fucking nailed it. That feeling is the juice. And when I don't have that, I've been making my whole life. I went to art school because, honest to God, it was the only avenue for me. That I was failing out of high school. I had my prospects were very, very bad, and I got a scholarship to the Savannah College of Art and Design for my little comic strips, and that was enough to tell my parents, like, I don't know if I'm ever going to make money, but like this is an avenue that I could go down that makes sense for me, that makes me happy. And they just assumed that I would be poor for the rest of my life, and were shocked, I think, when I wasn't. And that there didn't ever seem to be another option for me. And I can't imagine well, maybe I can imagine, given that I just left corporate, that I dabbled for 6 years in not necessarily making my art. And I do think it has an effect on someone's mental health. That like when they are, but maybe it's not just the art. Maybe it's like you're not on your path. And some of us make art because that's our destiny. Some people do it for their own reasons, right? It's therapy to paint. You hear this with, I think, George W. Bush, that he's painting as an elderly man now, because that's a form of therapy for him. He doesn't really see himself as an artist. And I think it has value. But for some of us, it was something that we had to do because that was our reason for being, right? My mother met my father, and that was the story that I need to go do this.
I lost my creative outlook when I lost skateboarding. I became I was a full-time dad, nonstop, 6 children, yada, yada, yada.
Wow, dude, congrats. 6 children.
And it's like, I was searching for that feeling that I used to get from, just pushing a board down the street, which is become very hard when you've broken your ankle 9 times and you're 50 years old. It doesn't flow like it should. So I was looking for that spark, and that's where that shutter click I was talking about came in. And then I'd look at the image and I'd be like, ooh, okay, click, ooh, you start finding it. So I found this side of me way late in life. So I was 6 years ago, 44 years old when I picked up a camera. And now it's my everything.
Yeah.
It goes with me everywhere. It's like, Linus and the Peanuts. It's like his blanket. It's my blanket. It's everywhere. And it's just so many people just try to do life without exploring something that they've wanted to try, whether it's music or film or painting or just any type of creative outlet. And they just need to jump. You just need to try.
1,000%. 1,000%. I mean, I feel like that's the human condition, right? That like there is society telling us there are things you're expected to do and you got to go do it, which somehow crowds out all of the wants to do. And the struggle, I think, that we see in at least America right now is that push-pull of, the people in charge saying, no, 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 you can't do X. You can't do this thing. You need to go do something else. And it's like, yo, this is America. I could do whatever I want. That was its foundational ideas. And I think there are a huge portion of us who are still trying to live up to that. Like, I'm going to go chase my whimsy. I heard Kevin Smith say this one time, that he wanted to build his life around chasing his whimsy. And that sometimes he'd wake up and he'd want to do a podcast. And sometimes he'd wake up and he'd want to write a script or make a comic book or whatever. And that really struck with me, that like, that's how I view my life too. There are a lot of things I want to do, and I'm going to go do them. And they might not be traditional, and they might not even be like, my wife and I argue about vacation a lot. She wants to vacation. To me, I don't ever want a vacation because my tragedy is I'm going to die having not done all the shit I want to do. And vacation just takes more time out of the mix. So it's like, I don't have time to go to the beach because there's 10 videos I want to make, or I want to go do X, Y, or Z out of these projects. And, I think you gotta do your thing. You gotta stay true to who you are and just do it. On the other hand, there are people that are happy not doing, right? I don't think making art is for everybody. What I love about photography is that it seems to be the most accessible art form in the modern day, that everybody has a camera and everybody's taking them. And if they switch their mindset from documenting their kid at soccer to snapping a badass soccer photo, that's different, right? And it's like, photography is available to all of us. You could be an artist in your own time if you want to do it. And then social media levels that playing field even more. And that's what I love about photography, is that it is truly available to all these days. And that was not true before. Maybe cave paintings were, I guess I don't know enough about cave paintings. Maybe it was very difficult to generate the pigments that went on the wall, or maybe on the other hand, it was very, very simple. But I think that's how photography went as well. That photography initially was like, this is elitist, it's expensive, it involves chemistry, it is non-trivial. And then it became more accessible through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And now it is accessible to everybody because they just give it away with your communication device. And I think that's awesome to me.
Yeah, I agree. And people don't realize how powerful that device is in your pocket. You know, like
Yeah.
if you're looking to build a social media platform, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Threads, whatever they have nowadays, there's so many. The images from your phone are fantastic.
Oh, dude, they're next level, man. I did this YouTube video where I compared my Sony A7R5, a 60 megapixel full frame beast, to my iPhone. And I used my same preset on both. They're identical. With the exception of the depth of field, they're absolutely identical. If you're shooting a full frame camera at an f8 or an f11, you cannot tell the difference. I will die on that hill.
Yep.
I think it's great. But the phone, when you think about the golden age of cinema in the 60s and 70s, right? Like the the time when Coppola, Scorsese, Friedkin, all those guys were coming up, they would have killed to have a phone like an iPhone in their pocket that it records, it makes movies. You can edit the movies, you could publish the movies, and you can get exhibition through your phone. That they were just amped that the 35 millimeter camera went from like basically half the size of a Volkswagen Beetle to something they can hold in their hands. To them, that was the new tech, and it got them out of the studios and into the streets. That was what changed, kind of like it made the new Hollywood. And the fact that like the phone has done the same thing for a much younger generation, right? That now they can go make their things anywhere they want. And to not take advantage of that is, I don't know, criminal.
You know, I look at it in skateboard terms because, again, that was my passion, is we'd have to film with those big VHS camcorders. We'd have to go
And
home.
those huge wide angle lenses on the
Yep.
front, right?
And we'd have to go home. We'd have to have two VCRs set up. We'd have to do a really, really awful edit. And now, and you would take time, right? Like you would see clips, maybe like pro videos, a couple of them would come out a year. You'd have to wait for magazines to see the latest trick being done. And now with Instagram or TikTok, people are putting out like full parts in a day on this platform. Like it's an incredible, incredible growth and change. And the fact that when I go out or I'm on a bike ride, whatever I am, I don't need to have my medium format camera. I don't need to have, my daily carry. My phone will capture that moment, right? And it will do just as well. I'll be able to post it and I'll just have a great time using that image. And I just love the fact that you can capture so much. It's just so powerful in a small package.
And it's with you all the time. And it honestly, the phone camera vexes me because it is so good. I think a reasonable case could be made is like, why do you need anything else? And yet here I am collecting cameras, having way too many, right? And a reasonable person could say, yo, that's enough. And I think they'd be right, honestly. Like, I do think that I could build my very specific work on a phone, full stop. And I just choose to use different tools.
Well, do you think that when you approach the people on the street, do you think having that professional camera maybe makes them think a different, like like doing the same thing, walking up with your iPhone to take a photo, or walking up with your you said you have an A7R5?
Yeah.
Walking up with that with your, your 85 mil lens on it, that just looks just true pro. That makes people, do you think that might make people have a different opinion?
That's a really good question and something that I've definitely tossed around. I've tested those assumptions a little bit with like smaller film cameras. Like recently, I just used the Pentax 17, and that looks like a tinier, like it's tinier than the Fuji X100 VI, and it looks just really small. And no one blinked. No one seemed to care. It's the results there are probably tuned a little bit to like my strip of Charlotte where I photograph, I'm kind of well known there. So it's possible that they clocked me already and knew. And I would agree that a guy my age walking up to young women with a phone and be like, "Can I take your photo?" could go in the wrong direction really quickly. And so I think it probably does help. But I can imagine, the criticism I get for my work is that it isn't street photography. And I deeply disagree with that. Um, Street photography classically isn't even the Bruce Gilden stuff. It is I'm a stealth shooter. I'm documenting the streets for kind of a future time period. I am not interacting. No one knows I'm there. I'm shooting at a very, large aperture so that everything's in focus. It's f8 and be there. And that is street photography. And my perspective is I'm out on the street shooting spontaneous work. The fact that I'm interacting with these people, plenty of street photographers interacted, right? Winogrand interacted. You could see in his contact sheets that there were 7 frames of the same person. They're clearly talking, right? Like that is not, unallowed. But where was I going with this? I think that camera helps me, right? Like I think the fact that I'm out there, just snapping with a bigger camera, I think people take it seriously, but they're, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, Tyson.
It's all good, brother. I get what you're saying. I think from my perspective, if I was approached with an iPhone or even a mid-level removable lens camera, I would feel more comfortable with the person who has the camera than someone who's just trying to take my picture with an iPhone. And I think it's just the perspective of, okay, they're a little bit more serious. I don't know what that person's trying to do with a phone.
Yeah. Oh, here's what I was trying to say. That for those people that look at regular street photography, the classic street photography, I think an iPhone would work really well. That you do have a deep depth of field, and that phone is stealthy. People wouldn't know that you're there. That like I understand the joy of shooting with a Leica, but if you're shooting at f8 and be there, an iPhone is actually like a really good tool for that. You're going to get incredible resolution. You're going to have everything in focus. No one is going to have any sense that you're there snapping, right? So like that's where I think an iPhone works. In my case, I think you're probably right that people do interact slightly differently because I seem like I'm serious. What I do find though often is that when my approach is not perfect, people will think that I want money. And I shoot in an area where there are a lot of like vintage clothing sellers. And so there's a bit of hustle on the street already. And so I think they think, oh, this is a guy hustling. Like I went to Times Square this summer and I noticed, I'd never seen this before, but there are guys walking around with cameras and iPads around their neck and they're snapping people without them knowing. And then they walk up to them and show them the iPad, show them the photo and be like, hey, do you want to buy this? There's a whole business of this. And they thought I was one of them. They thought they were like, how long you been doing it? Who you working for? I guess there's teams. And I was like, no, I'm just doing this for me, man. And I'm not selling shit. And sometimes I have to tell people like, no, I don't want your money. I just want to snap you real quick.
I've seen that on the social media platforms. People take a photo. They have a little printer with them. They do their edit on their iPad. They print a photo and they hand them the photo. Right.
Yeah.
So it's, everybody has their own hustle, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody had mentioned that I should do that. And I was like, yo, that sounds great. But you see what I get in my videos. There's only a very little bit cut out, if ever. And I don't have the 5 minutes it takes to edit a photo, copy it to Lightroom, print it out. The people who do that, they're almost always on subways. Because it's like, yeah, okay, so they're captive for the next 5 to 10 minutes while they're going to their stop. So they got time to print it out. But in my case, like these people, they got lives to leave. And they're 90 seconds in. That's it. They're done.
Yeah. No, it's so here's a question. What is your favorite setup? Like I'm trying to look at your perspective. I don't understand how you're filming it. Are you filming it on, like you said, are you filming on a GoPro? Do you use your phone?
Yeah, so initially So, man, God, I don't want to I don't want to occupy the whole podcast time with this, but I think about this all the time, not because I give a shit about the gear, but I'm trying to make my life easier. And so initially I was like, okay, so I'm going to wear the camera. And what I saw on YouTube is that everybody has it chest mounted. And it's like, well, first of all, I don't think that's very comfortable. And my camera's going to get in the way a lot. And I couldn't quite figure that out. So I got an Insta360 Go, which has that little capsule that detaches from a traditional GoPro shape. And you can wear it on the brim of your hat. And it is both very obvious, and apparently some people don't even clock that I'm wearing a video camera, which boggles my mind, but I look like a fucking tourist. It's ridiculous. And I did that for 10 months, let's say, maybe even longer than that. And I would just hit record and I would get 45 minutes of record time. And I bought two of them so I could do two 45-minute sessions out on the street. But I hated it. And I hate that camera because it is touchy. It loses connectivity with the like GoPro base all the time. I had constant problems with it. And then I noticed the Meta Ray-Ban glasses came out. And for some reason, for 8 months, I just ignored them. And then one day I was like, oh, I wonder if those would be good for me. And I tried on a pair and then I wore them out on the street to do my thing. And they were perfect. And I was like, fucking Mark Zuckerberg built these for me. Like they're portrait orientation. I can wear them. Nobody knows I'm wearing a camera. I can put my EVF up to my eye. I can look through it. Everything about this is perfect. It seamlessly syncs with the phone. And so now I'm wearing the Meta Ray-Ban glasses all the time, and I'm obsessed with them. And that's it. It's the Meta Ray-Ban glasses and my camera. And these days I've been switching between the A7R5 and the Leica M11, and then sometimes I shoot film. And that's it. It's really, really basic. I hate specialized tech. It drives me fucking crazy. I'm a huge Apple nerd. I'm a huge computer guy, but my fundamental premise is I do not leave native apps unless I have to. I use the Apple Mail app. I use the Apple Notes app. I don't want to specialize my tech because if that specialization gets tweaked or breaks, I'm fucked. I need to be able to run to the store and get a replacement and be done. And so with the Meta Ray-Bans, I can do that. With the Insta360 Go, I could do it, but I hated that camera.
I obviously forgot about the Ray-Ban, the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. I've seen it. It looks like, hey, your videos are great with them. So,
I got
a really
it.
good option.
Yeah, I got them in January of 2025. I think is sometime it was like right around New Year's where I picked them up. And I remember having this conversation with my wife. I'm like, I think they're fine, but they don't shoot 16:9. They only shoot portrait. And at the time I was very obsessed with like building like the YouTube account. And so I was like, maybe they're not right. But I was like, oh my God, they just fixed my problem with having to wear a hat. Like I don't wear a hat. I don't like hats. And I had to wear a hat for the entirety of this account. And it drove me crazy. And that camera is just, it boggles my mind as to how like touchy it is. But these Ray-Bans are incredible. And that pains me because I'm such an Apple nerd that like Meta hardware would not be my first instinct to buy. But they're incredible. They're like, I have no complaints.
Do they last so long? Do they give you enough time?
Abs They absolutely do. I know you'll see in these YouTube reviews people complaining about battery life. And it's like, yo, I'm using it all day long and I'm making 40 90-second videos over like a 5-hour period on the street. If it works for me, it's got to work for you. And the only thing that I can muster is that like I turn the AI features off. I don't use any of that. It's a tool to me. So if it's possible that with the AI features on, asking it like, what am I looking at? Or like how to make a Caesar salad. I don't know. Maybe the battery is really bad. But for me, if you turn the AI features off and just use them as like AirPods and a video camera on your face, plus they're also, by the way, sunglasses, they're incredible. They're $100 more expensive than normal Ray-Ban Wayfarers, but you get a camera and AirPods.
Interesting. Okay. That's when I'm ready for the next upgrade, that might be the way to go to eliminate, having a Osmo attached to my camera, to make
Yeah, I mean,
big
I
win.
can't, yeah, I can't speak highly enough, man. Like I'm one of those new adopter guys. I got the Vision Pro day one. I thought that was the future. I've been really disappointed with it, and I've never been more excited about a piece of tech than these Meta Ray Bans. They're just so good. And this is not product placement. I don't know them. They don't know me. I am just obsessed with this tech because even at the early stages here, you can see obviously this is the future. Obviously, this is the replacement for the phone at some point when battery life gets better. Um, and you're gonna have glasses on instead of a phone in your pocket.
Perfect. Well, do you have any wisdom you can offer the listeners? Things that you've gone through, things that you can maybe help them avoid pitfalls as they're trying to build themselves?
Yeah, well, I think creatively, the the biggest piece of wisdom that I would give is that you need to just start. You need to do your thing. And it's so easy to sit and plan and strategize. And you hear, professionals talking about, what is your business plan or what is your content calendar? And all of that is bullshit. That you just need to start putting paint on canvas, so to speak. And you will find your voice, you will find what speaks to you. And as you show it to people, you will find what the audience responds to. And that has been a big thing for my account, that the audience interaction is what can drive you. And it's very easy to get pessimistic or say, like, no, it's my voice, it's only what I want. It's like, well, the back and forth nature of my type of work where I'm publishing it, it's getting a lot of views and people are commenting and interacting with it. You see how the art is being adjusted and accepted in real time. And that becomes part of the mix, right? Like when you're mixing oil paint, a little bit more linseed oil or whatever, and you are going to change the consistency. And that's kind of a dynamic process from piece to piece. And same thing here, that listening to the audience is a really important part of what I believe to be like modern art. I think it's fun. I think it's helpful and it can push you into new areas. But like getting out there and publishing your work so that people can actually see it and interact with it is the key because it's very easy to not start. It's very easy to defer starting in an effort to plan, quote unquote, to strategize. And it's like you don't need to do that shit. Just fucking get out there. The strategy and plan will reveal itself when it's ready.
Thank you. That's again, your wisdom today has been fantastic.
Oh man, well I'm so fucking glad that you had me on, man.
Well, you know what? Like I said, when I'm inspired by the work people are doing, and I love authentic, and I feel like your work is authentic. I was actually shocked you responded. So hey, it worked out for both of us. So
oh, dude, no, I was amped. I mean, I think you had reached out months ago, and I remember having missed that message and was like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this. And I responded. I remember laying in bed and like hit you up and be like, oh my God, I hope he still responds to me.
Well, you know what? I'm happy to call you a friend, and I look forward to continuing to see your growth. Where's the best place for people to find you?
Well, I think my Instagram account is kind of like, the home base that it has a big following. So my Instagram account, Velvet Alfredo, you can find me there. It's my stupid face, smiling at the camera. And that's a great place. But the YouTube is where I talk about longer form things, usually around the equipment, not because I'm obsessed with equipment, but mostly because that's where I do my searching. I think that like it's a good place to learn. And I have legitimate questions that need to be explored about some of the gear. And so when I explore them for myself, that's where I publish that work. And that's on YouTube. And I have fantasies about other things, but right now it's really a YouTube, Instagram game and just kind of trying to build an audience that really cares about what I'm doing versus just kind of like people who it's a little ephemeral. But yeah, YouTube and Instagram.
I'll add your links in the show notes. But man, again, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, and being open and willing to share.
Dude, absolutely. Anytime.
I think, maybe in the next, maybe towards the end of the year, we should maybe do a follow-up and see what's happened between now and then, because you are starting your YouTube journey. So maybe we'll we'll keep in touch. I'm definitely going to keep in touch with you. I'm sure I'll have some questions for you because I love the way you explain things. So you really connected me with some doubts with answers today. So,
oh, dude, I'm glad I could talk your ear off about this stuff. If you can't tell already,
okay, maybe we'll have to make it a regular chat because I find it inspiring.
Yeah, this stuff is just so fun, right? Like it's easy to forget that we're kind of in a golden age of making.
100%.
And that those of us who want to make, it's never been better.
Yeah.
And the problems that you see in the world, you can attack freely with what you're making. And I'm obsessed with it. And I could talk about it all day. And I think everybody has their little journey or their little thing they're going to do with it. My wife's a florist and she's making floral videos. And it's like, fuck yes. I don't know shit about florals, but like, this is awesome. And I think all of us, or those of us who care, can go on that journey for themselves.
Perfect, man. Well, I'm going to let you get on with your day. Mine's just getting started. It's 8:42 in the morning. So.
Yeah, dude, thanks for having me on so early. I know, I remember West Coast times, and it's like,
I've done one at 5 in the morning before.
Oh, dude, that's crazy.
Because I think everybody who's willing to come on, their story is important. And, if I have to get up and I have to start my day before work by recording an amazing, inspiring video, my day's only better. So, yeah, man.
That's true, man. It's funny because like it's people forget like it's one thing to like wake up early for a job, but you have to wake up early and be good at this, right? You have to wake up early and like be on, quote unquote, right?
Yeah.
And people don't think about that shit. When we were doing the social media for Hoover, I'd have to explain to the executives, like these girls, like if they get a zit, their productive day is over. Right? Like being on camera is real. These are real problems. And if you wake up at 5 a.m., it's not enough to be up, right? You're not typing into an Excel spreadsheet. You got to be energized and crazy. And like, that's real fucking work that people don't really think about.
I'm lucky I don't have to modify my voice. My voice has been a talking point of this podcast.
Dude,
so,
it's perfect.
I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm grateful to call you a friend now.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Same.
I look forward to seeing your growth continue. And you know what? You'll see me hitting the likes and probably start commenting more, making some silly comment about how fake it is. But man, I wish you nothing but success.
Dude, thank you. Same, man. Your podcast, I cannot wait to go deeper. I've got it all saved in my archives and like I'm waiting for like some big long walks to go and listen.
Perfect.
And I can't wait to go deep. You've made so much great stuff that like,
thanks, man.
Yeah, dude. But if ever you have any questions or want to chat, hit me up, man. I'm always around. I could talk about this all day.
Perfect. I would continue, but I forgot I scheduled one for 9 a.m., which puts me in a 15-minute window.
No worries, dude. No worries, man.
But again, appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Keep doing what you're doing because you are inspiring thousands and thousands of people to just get out there and interact and do things that have gone away, like have conversations.
Dude, thank you so much, man.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Life of Phys Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed our show, and don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to bring you content and the stories of our incredible guests. And remember to stay connected with us on all social media platforms. It's at LIFE_OF_PHYS or on the internet at www.lifeofphys.com. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day.